the last photo of Travis Alexander before his girlfriend Jodi Arias would murder him. I don't think people realize how big this trial was back in 2008. Like, I was still a kid back then. But this was like the biggest trial after the O.J. Simpson trial happened. There are movies, books, podcasts. I mean, even today I'm making this video. Like, the case is huge. She expressed remorse. You know, she was like, to this day, I can't believe I was capable of doing that to someone. She said she was disgusted and repulsed with herself and she wished she could take it back. I find this a theme with a lot of murderers. I feel like in the moment, they're just like, you know, vicious, angry, you know, they'll do anything, whatever, you know, compels them to do this. And then right after, they're like, oh crap, what did I do? Whether some of them are honest about being remorseful is another question for another day. In 2018, she tried to appeal her life sentence. She tried to get out, saying that because this whole trial was so public, it kind of ruined her chances at a fair trial, as she was saying. The appeal was unsuccessful. They didn't, you know, buy into it for a second.
No jury is going to convict me.
Why not?
Because I'm innocent, and you can mark my words on that one. No jury will convict me.
We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn, in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty. 5 jurors find premeditated. Signed, 4-person. Is this your true verdict? So say you want it all?
Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander met in 2006. They had really good chemistry according to friends, so 2 years later she would end up murdering him. So what exactly happened? My cat's here. So what exactly happened there? They dated long distance. Eventually they would move in together. Some of his friends actually chimed in saying that they were scared for him. Reason being, she was too obsessed with him. At some point they saw like disturbing obsession, trying to control everything about him, stuff like that. And his friend literally was quoted saying, Travis, I feel like I'm going to see you chopped up in a freezer one day.
I said, Travis, I'm afraid we're going to find you chopped up in her freezer. And all of a sudden I got this cold feeling over me and I knew she was outside our door. And I mouthed to them and pointed to the door and I said, she's out there.
Travis was like, no way. And Travis rips the door open and she's there.
The look on her face was just, it was evil.
When Jodi and Travis were in a relationship, Jodi was extremely obsessed with him. When Jodi and Travis would stay at friends' houses together, she would cling to him and eavesdrop on private conversations between Travis and his friends. One time, as Travis's friends explained in this clip, Jodi was caught listening through the door, and her face was so evil-looking that they did not allow her to come there any longer. Their gut instinct before Jodi went on to unalive Travis was that something wasn't right with this girl.
He was killed on June 4th. He was found dead on June 9th. And don't get me wrong, Travis Alexander was also head over heels for Jodi Arias. Like, he told everyone he wanted to marry her. He told everyone how amazing and beautiful and smart and funny she was. You know, all the good stuff, you know, a boyfriend should do, a couple, you know, in general should have. However, one thing was an obstacle for them. He was a devout Mormon, and I'm not sure if you guys know anything about that, but because of that, there was no sexual chemistry there. So that was apparently a big obstacle for her. Maybe the frustration led to a buildup and this happened, I'm not sure. She also went crazy when he was talking to another girl, as friends recall. Like, he has, you know, female friends, they would talk, and she would go, you know, she would not like that at all. She'd also go through his phone, she knew, you know, all of his passwords, she would read his texts, all that stuff. So, where's Jodi Arias now? She got life in prison, you know. If you guys are not familiar with the case, she got life in prison. Now she's a library aide in the prison. So the couple would end up breaking up, like, very short into the relationship. She moved to Mesa, Arizona, where he lived, and she would show up randomly to his house unexpectedly. Now this is where things get weird, because she was exhibiting stalker-like qualities before and obsessive qualities before. Now she was actually showcasing how good she was at stalking and all other stuff. Now, shortly after moving there, she would end up moving back to California from Mesa, Arizona after the two had a huge fight. Now, this is where things get crazy too. Travis Alexander was supposed to go on a friend's trip to Cancun with all his friends. He didn't show up for the trip. Later, he was found dead. That's how they figured that out. Jodi Arias is the one who reported him dead, which is crazy. She called the police herself hours after his body was discovered. Jodi Arias claimed she had an alibi. However, his friends were saying, she's sus, bro. You need to, like, look into this, which honestly turned out pretty good because she was a suspect. But she said she had an alibi. She said she was visiting her lover in Utah, and, you know, that's just her ex. How interesting that she was there, you know, at the scene of the crime with her ex and his dead body. Now, because of her overconfidence, she agreed to be fingerprinted by the police, which linked her to the scene. So, I mean, she told on herself with that one. They found a bloody handprint outside of Alexander's room, linked it right back to her. Got her. You know, in Among Us terms, she self-reported. You know, also, you would think that she would cover up the evidence better and not lie about having an alibi when she doesn't. They also found a camera by the washing machine, which had pictures of both of them time-stamped in it, and the last photo of him before she murdered him. That was this photo that I showed you at the beginning. Now, after they arrested her immediately after finding all of that in jail, she said, okay, you know, I was there. We had like a little one-night thing. We did it. And then intruders, masked intruders, broke in and then they killed him. They literally didn't believe her at all because why was she spared and he wasn't, you know? Nothing was adding up. Her fingerprints were there, everything, you know. They arrested her, charged with first-degree murder immediately. They didn't let her get a second chance at making up another story. Dude, it was kind of gruesome though. She stabbed the guy 30 times and then shot him in the head. Like, that is next level crash out. She was held behind bars for 4 years until they began trial in 2013. You know, she would soon be sentenced to life after that. And she changed her story again, saying that she didn't spend the night, she just brought over the camera, and then he attacked her and she acted in self-defense, dropping the camera. She changed her story again. This is her third time changing the story on the stand. They have all the timestamps and evidence against her. Like, I don't know why she would do that. She's digging herself a deeper hole by doing that. April 13th, 2015, she was finally sentenced to life in prison. Initially, they were trying to really get her with a death penalty because they thought her actions, you know, were deserving of it. This led to a mistrial, you know, and then another round of jurors were brought in, and then they were kind of deadlocked here because they were kind of going back and forth. So they just decided to throw her in jail for life instead of going for the death trial or the death penalty. Like I said, she's serving life right now. She's not eligible for release. She tried that, didn't slide. I'm honestly surprised she didn't change her story for the 4th time. And like I said, she's currently working at a library in the prison.
You said it right there. No one believes a word out of your mouth. Why do you keep talking?
Well, because I know that I've lied before. That doesn't mean that I'm a liar by definition.
You said today you want to give Travis's family closure. You know they want you dead. So why don't you give them that closure?
What do you mean by that? Why don't I kill myself? Is that what you're asking?
No, why don't you accept the fate of the death penalty? So you really are never going to tell the truth about what went down in that bathroom?
I don't know what you mean by that because I've told the truth.
Okay.
I didn't know that you were a hater when you came to interview me.
I'm not. And that was...
She was also ordered to pay $32,000 to Alexander's family after all that, you know. Just help with funerals and, you know, travel expenses for loved ones having to come by and everything. Yeah, that's the story of Jodi Arias. I mean, it's a crazy one. And I really feel bad for, you know, her ex-boyfriend that got killed and stabbed by her. It's a horrible way to go. It's crazy to think 2008 was 17 years ago and that happened, like, mind-blowing. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, guys. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.